Hey guys, welcome back. New week and a new episode of the Weeboo Pod. This is season 3, episode 9. As always, it's Pat and Chris. Hopefully you guys enjoy today's podcast. We got kind of a bunch of different things we want to talk about. But first, Chris, how are you doing? How's your week?
Pretty good, man. A lot of things to do, actually. I haven't really watched a whole lot of anime, but a lot of new stuff has come out, or a lot of games have come out. Namely, Pokemon Arceus came out, I think, a week ago from the date that we're recording this podcast. So I've completed the game, the main story, and that took some time. Haven't been able to do some shiny hunting yet, but we'll get to that. But I've also been hooked on Wordle, which is like this new word game. Have you been playing Wordle at all?
I started playing a couple days ago, so I'm only on like a streak of 3, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. It's a really simple game, but it's like super fun to play with friends and just compare how long it took to guess the word. But for people that don't know what Wordle is, you get basically 6 tries to guess a 5-letter word of the day, and every time you guess a letter correct, they basically tell you that one of the letters are correct, and you just have to guess within those 6 tries. But it's pretty fun. I've been addicted to that, and also just Pokemon Arceus, so that's been time consuming, but I'm doing my best to watch as much anime as I can. But how about you, Pat? What have you been up to?
Honestly, beside Wordle, I've been just still playing, my casual Genshin Impact. I got Arceus finally a few days ago, so I started playing that. I'm not very far in. I've only played, I think, 2 hours so far. So I want to sit down and really play it some more, but I've been trying to catch up, just on certain anime out there. I started my new isekai of the season. Can't wait to talk about that.
Oh God.
But that's just how it goes. It's beside that it's been busy. I think the Olympics are on, so I've been kind of watching that. Just want to see how it's going. It's weird to see kind of the Winter Olympics in China when they're at a place where it doesn't snow at all, so all the snow is man-made. I thought that was really funny. But
yeah, it's also weird because it's like a back-to-back situation where we just came off the Summer Olympics. I'm just like not ready for the Winter Olympics yet. I feel like it's just too short of a turnaround where I'm just like, I feel like I just watched the Olympics and I'm losing the magic.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird because it's I think there's a lot of politics in this one, right? A lot of the nations are boycotting it, which is like a weird way to bring politics in, because I just feel like a lot of these kids and athletes, they really work really hard to represent the country, and it's just kind of sad to hear like your country's not even attending, regardless of the political tension. But
yeah, it's a little gray area right now with a lot of the different aspects that are kind of playing into it. Not just COVID, but like all the political tyranny and problems that are in each respective country and all the kind of hardship that everyone's going through. So it's a bit tough, but hopefully it's still a good Olympics. I do like the Winter Olympics a lot. Like the snowboarding categories. I do like ice skating and figure skating, obviously, because, that's like the only sport that Japan ever wins in. So that's the only thing I can really ever support in the Olympics. And yeah.
It's always nice to see your kind of ethnic country win a few medals.
Yeah, definitely. But hopefully, you find some time to play some Pokemon in the side. But I feel like Pokemon Arceus is one of those games, or is going to be one of those games that has a long run or a long tenure of kind of the gameplay. So there will be more DLCs, obviously, that come out. People keep playing the game. There's just, I don't know, like a more appealing style to the game than a traditional Pokemon game that allows users to kind of play the game for a longer period of time. So I feel like you're not really missing out on anything by not finishing the game within a week, versus like something like Brilliant Diamond and Pearl. When that came out, it was like you got to finish in a week because no one was talking about it after a week.
Yeah, honestly, I really wish I could play Pearl some more. But no one's playing it anymore.
Yeah, it's just obsolete.
I just started my shiny hunting career, and I only got one shiny, and then next thing I knew, Arceus was out, and that's what the cool kids are playing these days. So trying to stay up to trends, but it's not like I have as much time on my hands as I would like.
Yeah, but Arceus shiny hunting is a lot easier because it's the chances for like to begin with are a lot easier than the traditional Pokemon games. And then second, you can kind of see them in the open world scenario where you don't have to keep running into every single Pokemon to see if they're shiny or not, which is really time consuming, right? Because you got to either fight every single one you run into or run from every single one you run into. It's a little much. So it's a lot faster this way. So you could start your collection and you'll get a lot more in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah, I think I've heard popular reviews. It seems like a lot of people really like it. So, hey, I mean, it's always nice to see a different type of gameplay, right, with Pokemon.
The only thing I could say though is the graphics on it are so bad. I don't know if it's like a Nintendo thing or a Switch thing. It's probably a Switch thing if I had to guess, but I really wish I could play this game on PC at just not 1 FPS or something because it's just tragic.
Yeah, the Switch isn't known for its graphics cards.
Yeah, it's okay though.
I know we have the first gen Switch, so I don't know if it's gotten better, but I doubt it. I really doubt it.
Well, the Pokemon games are hard to look at, but luckily the anime of this season is not very hard to look at because all the animation is just on fire for winter 2022. We're recording this on February 6th, and all I can say is we might have gotten the 2 best episodes or the best day of anime that we've ever had or we ever will have in 2022 today. So we wanted to talk about the winter 2022 season last podcast, but we didn't really get the chance to because we went over time. Have you had a chance? I know you're going to talk about Leafdale because fucking isekai, but besides that, have you had a chance to watch anything else that's caught your attention? What are you looking out for? What are you watching? Any sleeper picks that I should be looking out for?
Leedale, dude, that's the sleeper pick.
Oh my god, I
Don't
can't
sleep
do it,
on
man.
it.
I can't do another isekai. I watched like 10 last season. That was enough.
I mean, I'm definitely watching the big ones, right? AOT and Demon Slayer. And then, speaking of how much I talked about Vanitas, so I am, very excited to keep watching part 2. This is one of those weird part 2 things again. So those 3, I guess, but those are rerunning. I guess Leedale is, the only new one that I've kind of started watching. There's a few I've been thinking about, but I just haven't really gotten the time to just say I'm going to sit here and click the button.
What are the ones you're thinking about then?
So I've been wanting to kind of watch this one called Love of Kill. It looks not that good, but at the same time, it looks like something I might like. So I figured I should try watching it.
I saw that one on Crunchyroll too, and then I think I looked it up on Mao to just sense check how the ratings are looking. And I think it was like around a 7 when I checked, and it was that's on Mao standards pretty low. So I didn't watch it, but it is on Crunchyroll. It's one of the few anime that's coming out weekly on Crunchyroll. There's not much this year or this season.
There is not much this season. That's correct.
Yeah, so that's why I thought I should watch it too, but I don't know. That 7's kind of deterring me to watch it.
To be honest, there's a lot of 7s going around this season. It's 7s for everyone except for Demon Slayer and AOT and maybe Vanitas.
Yeah. I definitely think it's a Demon Slayer AOT effect situation where you don't want to just put everything, put all your marbles into one basket, where you want to,
Right.
You don't want to release every single hard hitting anime in 2022. Not to mention, obviously, Mappa is probably gonna have a number of anime that come out throughout the course of the year. They don't want to probably front load everything with AOT, and then some of these other studios might be busy just getting ready for the next season and whatnot. So I definitely think it's that.
I agree. I think people are definitely, letting these two run their course before really, throwing their heavy hitter for 2022 out. There's another anime called Ari Freda. It's the second season. I actually don't even know how this got a second run. But, normally that's probably something I would watch. But I just remember the first season was so bad, I was I can't do it.
It's the second season has a 7.22 on Mal right now. which is bad because usually second season means the fans are still watching the show, or the only the fans are watching the show. So
Did you watch the first one?
no, this is definitely not something I would watch.
Okay. So the first one, it got a 6.66 on
Oh
Mal.
God, that's a bad number. That's a bad number. 666.
It's definitely an isekai. And even then, I was like, this show hurts me to watch, and I finished it, and I was like, damn, glad I got that one over with.
Ooh.
And lo and behold, there's a second season out. I almost don't even. I feel like I should just watch it because maybe it's just one of those turnaround stories. They came back, they realized what they did wrong, and they said we're coming back stronger.
Well, I mean, it's a 7.22, which isn't that much better than a 6.66. I don't think it's a turnaround situation here.
This is the comeback story.
I'm pretty sure that's not it.
Yeah, there's two other ones I actually want to talk to you about. One of them is called My Dress Up Darling, and for some reason, it's been coming up a lot. I think you might have started it. The initial ratings seem pretty good.
Yeah,
So I want to hear your thoughts on this.
it's an 8.3 on Mal right now. It's definitely like the slice of life best girl anime where the main character or the main girl in that show is literally everyone's favorite girl. I can bet that she's gonna go down as like best girl in like Crunchyroll Anime Awards. That's how much of a front runner she is. I think the show is interesting. Huh?
Big statement. It's only the first season of 2022.
Yeah, but she just has like those vibes. It's like the slice of life romance situation where she's clearly the best person in the show, and it's not even like there's multiple girls or anything like that. But she has like my vibes, like Sakurajima Mai from Rascal Dreams of a Bunny Girl Senpai, where Mai was like clearly like a front running best girl candidate, and I think
Right.
yeah, so it has the same vibe. So I think that's where all the appeal really is. I would say though, Cloverworks is doing a really good job of the animation that comes with the slice of life thing, and we've kind of touched on it, where I said like Komi Horimiya has really just set a new standard of slice of life animation. It's gotten really good. So in that sense, like it's a very easy slice of life to watch. It is a little like degenerate in a way. It's a degenerate show in a sense. A lot of like sexual scenes for sure. So that's also I think the other thing that's like appealing to a lot of people.
So the interesting thing is that Cloverworks has two anime that are running right now.
Yeah, this one and Akebi-chan no Seirafuku, which is like Akebi-chan's like school uniform. She's like it's around a student that just started in middle school, where she is wearing like a different uniform compared to everyone else because her mom made it for her. I did watch that, or I am watching that too.
Can you do that in Japan? I thought that wasn't allowed.
Yeah, she basically had a dream that she wanted to wear this school's uniform similar to how her mom did because her mom went to the same school. They changed the uniform, I think, a year or two before she actually got to the school, but she didn't realize it. So her mom made this uniform, and then she like showed up on the first day, and then she realizes she's sticking out like a sore thumb because she's wearing a older version of the school uniform. So she has to go to a principal, ask for permission, and then the principal allows it because it's still a version of the school's uniform. It's just something from the past. So
I see.
Yeah. And she has this personality where she kind of is extroverted all over the place, but kind of like brings out the best in people, is very bright, and it's a very like pure show, to be honest. It's a very interesting show. Again, like the art is really, really good. Cloverworks is stepping it up for sure. It has like a 7.5 on Mao right now, which is obviously lower than My Dress Up Darling, but from a show standpoint, I could see a lot of people enjoying it. I think it caters to the crowd of people that like something like Yudu Camp or Aquatope, where it's a little slower, but it's a more pure slice of life where you get to see like the daily tasks or the daily things that they go through in school, and also just like the growth of the students, the interactions, the relationships that are developed between them and whatnot. So very much a casual show, very much like my Aquatope replacement for this year.
Good old missing Aquatope, man. Missing those weekly runs.
I know.
All right. Well, like we said, it just sounds like, there's a couple big heavy hitters the rest of the season. I wouldn't say
It's definitely lacking. It's lacking.
I was gonna say slim pickings, but yeah, I mean, there could be a sleeper out there. There could be one hiding. So you gotta find it.
I don't have a problem with it really because we have something to look forward to. Obviously, Demon Slayer and AOT come out every Sunday, and Sunday is just a very hyped day of anime right now, just because of the quality of both of the shows. Unfortunately, Demon Slayer is gonna end 1 week from the recording of this podcast. So after next week, we may have to dig a little deep to find something to replace that. But besides that, I don't really have a gripe with the season just because we have 2 amazing shows that are coming out.
That's true. Speaking of Demon Slayer, though, I think that's one of, I think maybe we just jump into it. Maybe we just go and let's talk about this Demon Slayer because it's the big topic of the day, probably. It's probably trending far and wide.
Yeah.
They want to be the very best that no one ever was.
I woke up and I went on Twitter this morning, and I don't even follow that many anime Twitters, but for whatever reason, like every single person I follow, and I follow obviously a lot of gamers, a lot of streamers, a lot of weebs, but everything was about Demon Slayer's new episode or AOT's new episode. And I was just like, what is going on? But Demon Slayer was like clearly the more talked about out of the 2. And I was just like, oh God, I gotta avoid all the spoilers or everything that's going on. Like obviously I read the manga, so I know what's gonna happen. I just visually don't know what's gonna happen, but I could not like shield myself from all the spoilers that were on Twitter. Twitter's a bad place, man. It's hell.
It's hard to like avoid the spoilers. I was actually kind of browsing, some posts on Reddit, and there was definitely a lot of posts on Demon Slayer. So I guess same kind of boat. Like everyone has just been talking about it. Like every week, I kind of sit here and I say, "Oh wow, that was a crazy episode. That must have taken a lot of production and a lot of effort." And then the next week, it's just like, that was even crazier than the week before. Like, what is going on? I don't even know what to expect for the next couple episodes at this point. But, I think this could have been the climax. I'm not 100% sure.
We have one more episode. That's a 45-minute episode. So this is episode 10 that came out on the day of this recording. But episode 11 will come out next week, and it'll be 45 minutes long. And that's the end.
So, did you watch this week's episode, or is it on the back burner still?
No, I watched it. I have the same sentiment. So, obviously we don't want to talk about the content of Demon Slayer, but I have the same sentiment that this season of Demon Slayer has just one-upped itself every single week. I thought the season started a bit slow, but I think you and I both expected that based off of what we knew from the manga and some of the closing loose ends that were left open at the end of the Mugen Train or the movie with the Rengoku in it. So I anticipated that, but I didn't expect this level of quality from the show that we're getting. And it's not the same as, and we talked about this last week when we talked about AOT a bit, but it's not the same as in like the writing is extremely good or the plot developments are extremely good in this arc. It's just ufotable's on fucking crack or something, man. Because
they got something called a blank checkbook and a lot of staff.
Yeah, because I know for a fact. So I mentioned this last week that that ufotable obviously has learned a lot from something like Heaven's Feel, which is the Fate Stay Night movies. And I've watched or rewatched all the Heaven's Feel movies last weekend because I knew the climax of the fight scenes of Demon Slayer was coming up very quickly, and I wanted to just like compare the quality of Heaven's Feel to what we will see in Demon Slayer. One, Heaven's Feel is a movie. Obviously, Demon Slayer is a running show on TV, so it's a little bit different on how people approach it. But when I watched Heaven's Feel, I was just like, holy shit, dude! These fighting scenes, the animation is just next level, and it feels like whatever they learned in that experience with Heaven's Feel, or maybe they took some of the staff that came from Heaven's Feel, was just directly implanted into this season of Demon Slayer when the climax happened. The climax of the fighting scene happened. And I was just like, what the fuck did I just watch? Because
Yeah, there's a lot of comments that like ufotable really got in the CG/2D overlaying and like stitching like down to, I don't know if perfection is the right word, but they're definitely the front runners right now, probably, in kind of getting this to flow.
yeah, I don't know if we're ever gonna get something like this outside of ufotable, which is saying a lot because someone like Mappa obviously has great fight scenes too, right? But I don't know, man. The quality of Demon Slayer this season kind of just amplified our. I think it amplified your sentiment too, that we just love Demon Slayer so much.
It's like it's a new appreciation for art.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane. Like, I think in this recent episode, actually, out of all the episodes, I would bet there was the least amount of dialogue out of any episode
Yeah.
thus far to date. Yet, it was probably the most expensive episode.
Yeah, I'm sure it took so much time too, just time and effort.
Oh, yeah, it's probably insane. I think I was reading, back in season 1, Demon Slayer was coming out at about $100,000 per episode budget. We're definitely beyond that. I don't know what their budget is for this season. But, for perspective, Mugen Train the movie was a $16 million budget for, I don't know, 2 hours. So what did they split that up into? 8 episodes?
Yeah. I think it was like 8 or 9.
I would think this is probably as expensive, if not more, than the movie.
Yeah, so that's where I'm like I'm kind of lost because I do think the entertainment district animation is significantly better than the Mugen Train animation and the fight scenes. Obviously, Mugen Train, the last fight scene with Rengoku and Upper Tier 3 or Upper Rank 3 was insane and it was really epic. But just like compared as a whole, I feel like the entertainment district animation is just a little or like a tier above Mugen Deshahen. But when I kind of compare it to Heaven's Feel, which kind of comes like around the same time as Demon Slayer, it's pretty similar. It almost feels like they took everything they learned from those two movies and they like implanted it directly into this season, and we just like reaped all the benefits from it because both those movies kind of came out in 2020 or the back end of 2020, and then at least like the last movie of Heaven's Feel, and it almost just feels like they took whatever technology or whatever learnings, whatever experimentation they did throughout the whole thing, and because they had a larger budget, maybe they were able to do more to experiment and just develop a new level of skills, was just directly correlated to the development of this season of Demon Slayer.
So do you think that the popularity of Mugen Train, the movie, is what really catapulted the production and the effort behind this current season? Like, basically, if Mugen Train had flopped, do you think we would still be seeing the same quality we're seeing now?
I want to say no, because I want to say there is a level of obviously importance for budget, right, and money, because a studio just can't operate at a loss. A business can't operate at a loss. And when you have that much global success from a money standpoint, you can take a loss on another project, right? And I think this is it, where they said, we're going to take a loss here because and we're going to invest what we've learned, what we've experimented, and get the right employees and staff in order to keep the momentum of Demon Slayer going.
Yeah, honestly, like there's so much momentum coming out of this season and after the movie. They could probably take a year and a half hiatus, and
People will still be
honestly,
waiting.
it probably would not hurt them at all.
Yeah. What do you think they're going to do from this point on? Because originally what we were thinking was we got 25 episodes for season 1 of Demon Slayer. That ended, and then we got the movie of Mugen Train. And I think initially we both thought we were going to get a 25 episode run afterwards, but we're not. It's a 11 episode run. Do you think this is there's going to be a next season, like within the next year or two? Or do you think they're going to another movie situation directly out of this?
So I thought they would go into a second movie, but based on how short this episode was, like the season, they might pull something like AOT. And I'm saying like late 2023,
Right.
where they give us part 1 and then they come back with part 2.
Right. And I don't remember what the next arc was, and I'll look it up afterwards in order to just refresh my memory because I haven't. I think I read it like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. So I just don't remember what comes next after this. But obviously, the movies are a good point to have something that's like a big turning point in the show, right? And I just don't remember if there was a big turning point in the show right after this, or if it makes more sense to do kind of like the AOT situation where you have the entertainment district going on right now and it ends now, and then in winter 2023 you bring out another season of 11 episodes or so.
Right. So there is, I mean, the back half of Demon Slayer, I mean, from the manga perspective, is really just nonstop. Like, there's no more like it's just go time.
Yeah, there's no breaks. It's no arcs. It's like
It's just go. Yeah, it's just go time. And honestly, we're getting pretty close to that go moment. So I don't know if they're gonna just like break it up, or if they're just gonna say we're ready. Let's go. Let's run it. And however they do it, I don't think I prefer one way or the other. I think if anything, I'd just rather prefer it to not have anything over like a year and a half hiatus. But I'm almost positive we're not going to be seeing Demon Slayer for the rest of the year.
yeah, we're definitely not going to see it for the rest of 2022. And I don't have a problem with it, right? I do think they have a lot of momentum. I do think there's a loyal fan base that will wait for it. There's a lot of people that waited for AOT. There's a lot of people that waited for all the Fate series. There's a lot of people that waited for numerous series. So Demon Slayer just won't have a problem with the waiting time, I think. I do hope though that, and I don't even know if this is hope. It's definitely gonna happen. I definitely think that ufotable is gonna keep up the quality of the show, because they know for a fact that the appeal of Demon Slayer is either one, the characters, or two, the animation and the production from the show. They know what their strong suit is, and they know what they're working with, and it's pretty obvious, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with that. I mean, do you have any preferences? Like, is there anything you think they can do better? You would want something different, like a different take?
I don't think so, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know if you could create with what you were getting out of the entertainment district from the manga. I don't know if they could have done any better. And I think this they like maxed out their full potential with the entertainment district. And for those people that just haven't watched Demon Slayer yet, like if you get or haven't watched Entertainment District yet, if you get to the point of watching Entertainment District, you're like literally about to like be blown away, because the quality is just the full potential of the show is just maxed out.
Man, honestly, I have zero complaints with Demon Slayer. I thought this arc would be a little boring, actually. And I was way off. I was so wrong.
Yeah, I mean, but you were kind of right? Because at the start of the show or at the start of the season, it is a bit slow. And that's how I remember it being in the manga as well. Just because there was a little bit of transition, setting up the plot and setting up the scenario and whatnot. But I do remember this like fighting scene, and I thought it was going to be epic. I just did not think it would look this epic in animation.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I see Nezuko and Demon Slayer, it's just a great episode.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, she's out of the box. fuck shit up.
Yeah, I don't know. We could go on and on about it because it's just such a high quality show.
So, I guess one funny fact. I was just reading Demon Slayer like kind of topics, some articles today. I know you were looking at some Twitters too, but I saw this woman like a couple months ago was arrested for selling like Demon Slayer cakes in Japan. She was basically just like drawing the art on these cakes, and she was like selling them for like like $100 or something. But I just thought it was hilarious that she got like arrested because of copyright in Japan.
I think I was looking at this cake. It was pretty hilarious because the quality of the cake is actually really good. It's very
It
realistic.
is really good. Like I would pay $100 for that cake.
Yeah, I would too. Like it's a very high quality. It's a ufotable as cake, to be honest. So it's pretty funny, but I do think like Japanese copyright laws are a bit strict at times. So I didn't even know you could go to jail for just creating cake.
Yeah, it's edible. It's not even like after that it disappears.
I guess it's just because she generates revenue from it. Maybe that's the whole issue. If she was making it and just giving it away, I highly doubt she goes to jail, right? But just the fact that she's making money and profit out of it, it's probably a whole copyright issue.
It was pretty crazy because they said she made like 6 million yen or something, which is like the equivalent USD of about 60K. That's a nice side business if that's a side business. I guess you can't just draw art anywhere you want.
You know what's funny though?
Especially in Japan.
I feel like a lot of people are selling a lot of anime stuff in the US, and it's just not regulated at all. So I don't know if you've seen these recently, but I see a lot of Demon Slayer stickers on cars recently as I'm driving. They have like this like peeking kind of look. They put it on the window and it's like half their face, so it seems like they're peeking out the window. And
yes.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure, or I'm like 99.99% sure they obviously do not have the rights to the Demon Slayer art to do that. It's just not regulated here by any company, so they can kind of fly under the radar and just sell it.
I mean, if you got arrested in America for selling like anime related stickers, that would be actually hilarious. I don't think I mean, everyone rips everything off in America, so if they can't even catch people for using copyright songs, I mean, stickers are very far down their list.
Yeah, I mean, it's just products in general, right? So I do see a lot of either printouts of animes, like posters, or maybe mouse pads, stuff like that. That's just not gonna be regulated. It's I think too hard for the Japanese companies to regulate them. There are some that are regulated, and I think those are like either streaming on really big platforms like Netflix, and someone like blatantly does something with Death Note, for example, then they somehow get caught. I don't know how, but they just have to be like very large kind of ordeals in order for it to make it to the news or make it to the headlines. But a lot of that's not regulated in the US, so it'll be funny if one day it does.
All right, well, it's time to start selling some stickers then until we get caught. I'm just kidding.
I know. I had my girlfriend, or my fiance now, is she had the idea that every single time we saw one of those cards, we should just leave a Weeboo podcast business card or like QR code that leads them to our Spotify so that they could listen to our podcast. I was like, oh, that's not actually a bad idea, because for a fact that they're weebs, so it's easy to just like market to them.
That is true. No shame.
I know.
Just leave QR codes everywhere.
That's how we're gonna get our viewers back after losing all of them last week on our AOT episode.
Yeah, well, we'll have to replace the menus at restaurants with our QR code. So when people like try to look up the menu, they pull up our podcast instead.
Exactly. It'll be easy. We'll just go to the nearest In-N-Out and we'll just put a QR code on the menu there.
I guess it's time to get off of this Demon Slayer topic then. So I guess maybe maybe a more formal portion of this podcast. I don't know if it's formal. We talk about anything, but I guess a different type of topic, still related to anime, but I think let's try talking about the industry as a whole. And by that I mean, like, if I just kind of want to get your thoughts and your feel on what do you think about the industry and the production studios, and when you watch anime more and more because we're doing this podcast, are there things that you kind of like have in the back of your mind that really make the show a good show? Are there things you're looking for in terms of like characters, plot, or like Demon Slayer? Are you just saying, I just want to feel entertained, like it doesn't matter what the plot's what the plot is or what the show's about, I just want to watch my 20 minutes and say that was a good episode, I'm entertained?
Yeah, it's kind of hard because it depends for me based on my mood. And there's a lot of times where I look for a shonen or something because it's entertaining. It's just pure entertainment, right? To just watch someone that's completely overpowered or watch someone develop their skill set in order to become a more overpowered version of themselves. So in that sense, it sometimes I look for that, but I think more so now, I'm having a very bad habit of kind of autopiloting when I watch anime or watch TV shows. Maybe you do the same when you don't watch anime, but other TV shows. Because obviously I have somewhat of an advantage because I could just listen and I don't need to read the subtitles. So I don't need to pay attention to anime as closely. So it's been harder for me to stay focused on anime when there's a lot of garbage stuff out there. But when I'm just fully focused, I guess kind of going back though, like when I'm autopiloting, the only thing I'm literally looking for is like pretty animation and like decent voice acting. I just can't have the person's voice be super annoying. And if I look up, I hope the animation just looks pretty. And I'm just like a simple person like that. But from when I'm focused, I just am like, I more so pay attention to the writing, and that kind of goes to some of the more slice of life stuff. So something like Garden of Words, for example, is like one of my favorite anime, just because of like the pacing and like the poetic writing that comes with the show, and also just kind of the complexities of how it's narrated, and also just the perspectives of how the story is told. Something like that, I pay attention to a lot more. So it really just depends on my mood. I have a kind of sense of what you expect from an anime. I was like thinking about it a couple of days ago, like why Pat likes certain shows, because I was so distraught by the fact that Mushoku Tensei wasn't in your top 10 of 2021, and then AOT was just like an average show to you. That I was like, I wonder what this guy likes then. But what do you look for when you watch anime?
Whoa! I kind of want to hear it from your perspective first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Tell me what I like.
I think you're more of a character focused person, and you just really hate scummy main characters. So like, you like either characters where you could kind of relate to or like see yourself in. So something like Remake Our Life, right? Like you could kind of relate to the whole situation. So that's why you appreciate that more than I appreciate it, because I think the how the plot was formed at the back end was just worse, right? But it's very easy to relate to the main character wanting to kind of change like how his life's kind of gone about. And on top of that, he's not a very like scummy person, right? He has good intentions and makes decisions based on like sound reasoning. From the other side, something like Mushoku Tensei, the main character is a complete shit face, right? And is like a very much a true degenerate. So I feel like you don't like main shows that have main characters that are pretty unlikable, and that's I also think is the same as AOT. But Demon Slayer, obviously, you can kind of pick and choose which one you like.
There's facts to this. I'm thinking ReZero too. Scummy main
yeah,
characters.
scummy main character.
Hard to like these scummy main characters out here.
Yeah. And even like SAO, right? Like the SAO characters aren't that unlikable, I think. Like Kirito, to some degree, like he has very good intentions. He's, you know, protected by just no plot issues and stuff like that. But that's not his problem. That's more so like the storytelling and the writing issues. But the other characters, just like in a whole and sort of online, the main characters at least aren't that scummy. So that was my takeaway. I was like, I could see like him not liking Mushoku for that reason. And then when you talked about AOT, you didn't really like Eren. So I was like, I could kind of see that, like the connections here now.
I guess there's some truth to that. I guess, you know, characters do matter a lot to me. I gotta like someone. I gotta be on someone's side.
Yeah.
I think like if I can't pick a side, I have trouble, you know, liking a story. I guess that's true. Like even with American TV shows like Suits and
Billions, right?
Game of Thrones, Billions, yeah. Like even Billions, the main character he's a true piece of shit. But that's good for a different reason.
Yeah.
The story writing is great, and it's just a very entertaining show. So I guess in that sense, I would like a show that is just very entertaining. Like honestly, I don't really like Psyche K, but that's a pure comedy. I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
Like that's a pure like plot like just relaxing.
Psyche K has great writing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I just enjoy it, right? I don't really care about Psyche himself. But yeah, I guess most of the time though, when I'm just looking through anime, I do like to find an anime that has a character that's likable and that usually has some type of action animation. But I'm not a shonen stan. Okay, I like shonen and I like isekai, but I also like other stuff. I think. I think.
Oh no, your 2021 list and all the shows you watch say otherwise. So
hey, I'm gonna give some of these Cloverworks animes a try one of these days.
At least you had Remake Our Life and Aquatope in your top 21, so there is some blend there. So I guess
there's some hope. I'm not a lost cause.
Yeah, there's obviously other categories out there too besides just slice of life, shonen and isekai. So there's obviously like the sci-fis and the psychological thrillers. So, and you seem to like those, like Steins Gate, obviously, Psychopaths, Code Geass, stuff like that. We don't get those that often now, though.
I know, man. We need to swing back into that sci-fi, type of genre.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
The scientific thrillers, man. Everything right these days is. It's actually we're in the era of shonen and isekai for sure. It's like we're trapped.
Yeah, I feel like I don't even remember like off the top of my head what the last like psychological thriller that came out and I watched was. I just like Platinum End.
The Promised Neverland.
Platinum End.
It was the Promised Neverland. It was Promised Neverland.
Like those are so bad. We just haven't gotten a good one in a while, I guess. I literally just cannot think of one at all, and that's not a good sign, but hopefully we get one soon. But I guess like going back to kind of the things that you look for in an anime, what's the thing you just like absolutely don't care about? Even if they get it like right or wrong, like it just doesn't affect you at all. Like can you deal with the bad animation or like the music doesn't matter or the voice acting could be absolute crap?
So I don't think I pick up on the voice acting too much because I don't understand Japanese. Okay,
that's fair.
Right, so the voice acting, I mean, I'm just reading the words. Like, honestly, if there was zero voice, like, I don't think I would actually care too much. As long as I could read the plot, that would probably be fine in my eyes. Another thing I realized I don't really care about because we brought up this like comment on like best score, and you were kind of like, how would you not choose like
86
or something, right?
81.
I was like.
I'm
Hey,
dead.
the numbers are
I'm
confusing out here.
dead. Anime of the year 81.
We're tired, okay? It's
All
late at
right,
night.
all right.
I guess I don't care about the title. I guess the titles don't matter. I guess it doesn't matter what the title is.
As long as it has one number or word that's right, it's fine. Oh my god. Uh, oh, I'm dead.
It's like Drake. It's eight something.
I know.
Eight something.
Uh,
Okay. Well,
okay, the
going
score.
back to
The
that.
score.
Going back to that. I think the score doesn't matter.
I mean, like the score, like I could see the score not mattering all that much, but at the same time, I feel like you don't really consciously think about the score because it's like I don't consciously think about the score unless it's like exerted significant emotion of some sort. So if it's in like the fighting scenes, right? They're just insane, intense music in the background, for example, or sound effects. Then I'll notice it. Or in 86's case, there's like very much, or 81's case, there's very much emotional scenes that like a piano background or a kind of lead up to kind of like the emotional decision making or the moments make a pretty big difference, I think, in how like it sets the tone and the mood of the story. But besides that, I don't think many people will notice it. So for example, like Aquatope, I have no idea or recollection of any music from that show at all.
Right.
So sometimes like it just won't do anything, right? I do think it just depends on like a more emotional heavy or some kind of emotion provoking like show.
Yeah, I think those more sensitive and emotional animes, those ones, I mean, the score really like helps convey the emotion, right? So in that sense, it's important for those types of anime. So I would agree with you that I guess it is a bit dependent. You're not really always looking to judge an anime based off of the opening, ending, or any of the scores inside. Do you think that it really elevate even if people don't notice? Do you think that it really elevates the anime?
The score, I personally do. So I think two instances that I could think of immediately where it has elevated the anime beyond kind of, I guess like if you just like took the score out of it, like how much of a difference it has made. I think AOT, the score is really good, and just the music and the sound effects, everything that kind of goes into AOT, the intenseness, like you could feel from your seat, even if you're not within the situation or living the situation, you can kind of feel that intensity. And I personally thought 86's score was really, really good just because without the score, I don't think I would have felt anything from it, really. The script is somewhat there, but at the same time, like it feels almost flat without it because I just can't take it all that seriously, to be honest with you, if it wasn't there. It just like exerts more emotion and more mood setting than anything else. So it in my recent memory, like those two, I feel like actually like if you took out all the music from it, it would not be the same exact experience. And we probably wouldn't even be saying 86 is like in the running for anime of the year.
I might have still had it in anime of the year.
No, trust me. It's like consciously you're not like listening for it, but in the moment it's there. Like it's very much present there.
That's fair. That's fair. I think like especially in the climax scenes, then it's when it becomes important.
Yeah, like even like the moments with the main character and his brother, or it's there. Like those kind of flashback moments where there's a lot of thought and emotion that kind of runs deep. So
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to try to pay more attention to these scores, I think. I'm going to make that a goal of 2022.
I think there's a few that you could probably relate to, but they're probably the ones that are like either sad or like super intense.
I mean, Demon Slayer is pretty intense, but I'm gonna keep an eye out. I'm gonna make a list. By the end of this year, I'm gonna have an idea.
All right.
So I guess maybe one other kind of topic that kind of falls under this like items we're talking about what we like to see. Maybe on the flip side, if you were working in the industry, like for a production company, is there a specific topic you would like to focus more on? If you were like the producer or the director, where would you allocate your funding? What do you think like is important for the anime for an anime like you would want to produce? Do you think it really depends on the type of anime you're going for, or is there something that with like currently, right? I think a lot of the studios are putting a lot of effort on animation over anything else. Do you like that? Do you think we should go back and maybe think about characters or story in greater depth?
I think there's a couple of examples I could think of off the top of my head where it almost this is a cop out answer, but I do think it depends on what the anime is that you're getting. So we kind of talked about with Demon Slayer, but it does feel like ufotable knew that the core elements or the most appealing part of Demon Slayer isn't the writing and the plot. It's like the action scenes, the fight scenes, the intensity of it. And they obviously probably allocated a lot of their resources, not just their budget, right? Their employees, their staff, their thought into the animation of it, and it's paid off dividends. So I think that's one situation. On the other situation with AOT that we talked about last week, it feels like they knew what their strong suit was, where their strong suit is the writing and the plot development rather than character development in some situations. So you can't do all the flashback scenes to explain the characters. You can't do all the backstories to explain what drives and motivates each person. And it felt like Wit Studio and Mappa has kind of identified that. But at the same time, there's situations where in season 3 there was a lot of intense fight scenes, and then Mappa had allocated a lot of their resources there as well. But then there's like Tactop from last year, where Mappa and Madhouse, I think, either got stuck in between a lot of different things, where the animation was good, but not the best we've ever seen. But it was pretty to look at. The writing was pretty subpar. It was a story about music, but the music didn't really stand out. And then the plot was just all over the place, and there was just no character development. So I don't know how like the budget was allocated there, but it feels like they just like wanted to make it look pretty, and that's what it was. And try to use their name to their advantage in a sense. If I had to like pick one area to emphasize, it depends on whether I want to make money or not. If I want to make money, I'm just putting all my money into, or putting all my resources into animation, because if it looks pretty, people will watch it, to be honest with you. But if I wanted to create something that's more meaningful and thought-provoking, I would definitely put more of my resources into story and writing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up like really good points. Like as much as it really depends on the anime, um, it's kind of important that I think like for every anime, right? There's really different departments, and there's always going to be that one, you know, just like remake. There's going to be that manager, right? They're going to be the ones doing all the supervision. They're going to be basically putting everything together. They're the production manager. They're working with all the teams, working on the music. They're working on, which is probably at the end of it. Now that I think about it, audio, music. That's probably all at the end. So really, I think, yeah, most of the focus really comes from the animation and the writing. And so I've always thought it's kind of interesting, right? Because the original authors, I'm sure, are a big part on the anime if it's taken from a manga or a light novel. I'm sure that's really the most important part. In my eyes, I actually think that that's probably the most important part of any anime is like seeing the author's visions and then kind of like taking, the way they envisioned the story is the way they wrote it, but also being able to bring that to life in like an animated form. With manga, it's easy. You have a basic character design, but I think it's still hard to like really get that to flow and do all those in between scenes and really tie, the movement together to make it like a good actual like series. So I think like if I had to choose a spot to work and like put most of my effort, I would actually spend more time in the development stages, because I think nowadays animation is just so good at every studio, and like there's something like Ranking of Kings, right? Where I mean the animation is it's not it's not amazing, right? I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I think they did so well writing the story and working on the writing and the plot that at some point you're kind of just ignore it, right? The first episode you're like, oh, I don't know if I could watch this, and then after that you're just like, oh, it doesn't matter anymore. Like this is so good.
What do you think? I guess this is a two-part question. One, what do you think is the process of script writing and writing when for an anime when there's an original manga already? Do you think it's just a copy and paste and just delete out the areas that you don't really want to do? So for example, Promise Neverland deleted out like 150 chapters. Did you just copy and paste the rest and just delete out those 150 chapters?
I think it becomes like you have to, yeah, choose what you want to portray. What do you think doesn't need to be drawn or shown in a video format to, and you don't lose out on the story? And I'm sure like that's probably a lot of the planning of an anime, right? Is being able to say this isn't needed or this is needed and we need to go into this detail, even if it's a very like short 30-second scene. Like we need to give that background. We need to have it there. And I think that's what really comes into the character development, plot development that, really makes a good anime different from a great anime. Is the person who really sat there and said, this is needed, this isn't needed. Is this going to affect when people rewatch it, are they going to say, oh, this was something I missed initially, but it makes a lot more sense when I get to rewatch it? So I think in that sense, you can't just take out like the non-important stuff. You just have to really think about what story are you trying to tell.
So would you prefer to be in that situation of kind of development, or would you rather do something like Vivi and Tactop where they just had an original story and they started basically from scratch?
I mean, I'm not a creative person. I don't think I'd be able to create something from scratch.
I mean, but you could like manage someone, right?
It's much harder, I think, to be able to hear an idea or a story for the first time and being able to visualize it. I think that's why it's just so much more difficult to really create an anime that's brand new or not off a light novel or a manga. Especially, I think the manga is the easiest because you have a starting point. You almost have like a storyboard that you can kind of build off of. It's like a template in a way.
Yeah, I wonder how the process is for these anime studios when they're getting an original story, because we saw two last year in Tacked Up and Vivi, and they completely turned out differently in that one felt like a more complete story in Vivi, and then the other just felt like they threw something together last minute in terms of the script and the plot. And I'm curious to see what the thought process or like the whole process of the development of that is, because I wonder if someone pitches them a story and then they decide, oh hey, this is a good story, let's do an anime, or they're like, hey, this is an original story that we need to just make up, and we have a slot in this season, so we have to like start the development now for it. Or in Tactop's case, it's like we have a new video game coming out, we got to just create a hype anime about it, and you just got to throw some script together to just get a audience so that people play the game.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like a team that probably has like some type of planning and they submit like decks for like different potential ideas for upcoming anime. I'm sure that's how it works. Or maybe there's just a guy who just watches a lot of anime like us and it's just like, or reads a lot of manga and is just like, hey guys, have you read this manga? Like, I'm thinking we should turn this into an anime.
I mean, it could be that. And I'm wondering if it's like the studios go out and just pitch to all the manga writers and manga artists, or I guess like the agents or managers of those manga writers, or they actually approach the studios to create something like AOT. I for sure think a bunch of studios pitch to them, but something that's a bit smaller, like Ranking of Kings, for example, that I think the original story is a little bit older as well. I feel like someone had to have read it in the studio or some affiliation to the studio, and they were like, let's turn this into an anime because I think this could be successful.
Exactly. Yeah, I would think that that's how it works. Like the big famous mangas, like people read them. They're probably very well known. You don't have to do much pitching. That's actually probably more like everyone's fighting for that contract. Once the manga writers kind of already know that they're gonna go for an anime route. And then yeah, like you said, the smaller ones, the light novels, that just might be like an executive decision. Like, hey, this is a good story. Like, I think we can work with this. And actually, that's probably another big decision. Is like, can you work with that story? Like, is your studio the type of studio that can do that type of story or genre well? Because I think lately we've really seen like each studio really kind of solidify itself into its own genre. So it's kind of interesting to see that, like, it's not really like a monopoly per genre, but every studio has its like pros and its cons. And so maybe in the future, like more of these hybrid studio works will be more common. Unless you're ufotable and you just like say no one's better than us, so we don't need any help.
Yeah, I mean, definitely everyone has their own flavor, right? And their own specialization. And I think that's part of the beauty of it, because someone like Demon Slayer can go to a ufotable or go to a mappa. So for example, with Chainsaw Man, I think they went to mappa. Or like I think it's very clear that if you have something like Chainsaw Man and you want to adapt it into an anime, mappa is the right person for it. And for something like Demon Slayer or Fate, ufotable can take it and then make it really good. And something like Violet Evergarden, which is the original story, I think, but like something that has like that slice of life feeling, or like Kyoka, for example, you could take to Kyoto Animation, and for a fact they'll do it like very well. And all these studios just to kind of have their like niche. It's very interesting. Do you have like a specific studio you would want to work for, or like a specific type? I'm guessing you would want to work for shonen if you had the choice.
I was gonna say mappa. I really like mappa right now. If I had to apply somewhere, it'd probably be mappa.
I mean, you get to work on every single big project too, right? If you're like an anime worker or an employee, why wouldn't you want to work for mappa? You get to work on Jujutsu Kaisen, you get to work on AOT, you get to work on Chainsaw Man that's coming up, you get to work on Tacked Off, I guess. But you get so many big names that kind of come your way, and usually they're like the most hyped show of the season.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a really good. Honestly, that sounds like a lot of work. I'm sure everyone at Mappa is just like hoping for a break. They're like very sad, probably, with all these big shows coming out.
Yeah.
But I would say the pinnacle has probably got to be Kyoto Animation, right? Even still, like, dude, their animation is just so top quality.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on like your style, right? Or the type of show you want. Because I think from some people's eyes, Mappa and ufotable could be the highest of quality. Kyoto Animation is really good at slice of life, though. They're very, very good at slice of life quality. And I think the other studios are somewhat catching up. Like Cloverworks feels like they're catching up a bit. I think PA Works is a little behind still, but
PA Works needs to hire someone to write better stories. That's where PA Works.
Yeah.
That's where they got to start right now.
Alcotov wasn't that bad, so I'll give him a pass. But before that, it was a bit bad. But it is interesting that all these studios have a niche. Also Bones, like something like Bones, right? Bones has like very niche, like indie type of feel to it. It's very nice.
Actually, who am I kidding? I'd go work for A1 Pictures. My boy Kirito needs some help.
A1's like very clean too, to be honest with you.
It is very clean. It's honestly, I like their art a lot.
I feel like it's just changing so much all the time though.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting just to see kind of what's the big studio names for this year. Right now, I mean, obviously the past year or so, it's just always been the same couple names. I mean, maybe we're just going to see, the rankings not change again, but there's usually a sleeper pick out there from some random studio. So hopefully we find that one.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to work in the environment, but I'm sure it's super stressful.
Oh yeah, I'm sure your days are never ending. Your sleep is lacking, and you probably can't wait for the anime to get released and finished.
I wonder how realistic Shirobako is as a depiction of the animation industry, because that show makes it look so stressful. And I'm pretty sure it's right.
I've heard it's pretty stressful. I heard it's definitely not a fun job.
We need to find like an insider to go work for them.
Yeah, we gotta bring someone on the podcast who's actually in the animation industry.
I also wonder if they would ever like start outsourcing to like other countries.
Oh.
Or do you think that's
I feel
just
like
impossible?
the language barrier would be tough.
Like I think they outsource some of the animation, or not. I'm pretty sure that they outsource a lot of the animation to Korea. So like when you read the credits, like there'll be a lot of Korean names in the credits, but they don't really go outside of that. Maybe because the other places are a bit expensive. Like why would you want to come outsource to the US? Because the US is just hella expensive.
Yeah, the US is, and you can't make people work overtime too much.
Yeah, they'll just get angry US workers.
Yeah, you'll have an unfinished anime. You'll end up like Promised Neverland. Maybe that's what happened there. They outsourced to Americans. Okay, well, I think we're running a bit long, and maybe we're dragging a little too long on this studio topic. But anything else you want to talk about before we close for the week?
Well, I think we're gonna try to put the podcast also on YouTube now. So for people that it's easier to listen to on YouTube, like feel free to listen to the podcast on YouTube. It's the same as our name. It's just the Weebs Out of Office. You can find us on YouTube. So all our episodes from this point forward will probably be uploaded there.
Awesome. Honestly, can't wait to listen on multiple platforms.
We gotta boost our stats. Just boost ourselves.
Gotta increase the viewership. Find more people to hate on my anime likes.
Now that we're on YouTube, they could potentially leave comments on how bad our taste is.
Who's this guy? This guy's terrible. Get him off.
There'll be a riot. They'll come cancel you.
Oh, I'm sure I'm canceled in many places already. Blocked. All right, sounds good. Let us know when we're up and ready. But I think as soon as next week, maybe we might be on YouTube. So come check us out. Thanks as always, guys. Appreciate the listens.
All right.
Talk to you guys later.
Peace out, Weebs.